Well, I started the recording. If anyone objects, let me know. Just I might need it.
Yeah, that's fine.
Thank you, Jim. Always have the finger on the record button there. All right, let's get started. So while Christina's still typing there, the usual thing we do with the steward calls is a check-in round, right? So go around the table and see per, domain, per area, per work team, what are we working on? So let me take a look at the list here. There's a link in the chat here if you want to open that.
I don't see a link in the chat. Can you repost?
You missed it. Yep, right. Let me repost it.
That's a really annoying thing, isn't it, with Zoom? It's like if you're not there at the beginning, you missed the earlier chat.
That's a feature.
That's a feature. That's not a bug.
Ah.
I should add the ongoing notes, the header of stewards too.
So when I wrote, is that Plonker Graham joining? You see?
I thought that was rather curt of you. Yeah.
Good idea.
It's good that autocorrect changed that to paper.
All right, back to the list. So first one on the list here is co-op directors. I don't know, is that on the list? Should we talk about that, Christina? Or we skip that?
Yeah, I would love the directors.
To get their act together.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Thank you, Graham.
Okay. We've got a call, haven't we, next week, I think?
Excellent. Well, maybe we could just do that internally on the director's call next week. We will get our act together next week. We moved it to, we'll prep for the general meeting. We'll get that agenda ready. And we'll also look at the actual coordination of the director's team.
Sure, happy to do that.
That's great.
That's 4 o'clock Wednesday, 4 o'clock my time next Wednesday, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
I think. Yeah, cool.
Go to the next, technology upkeep. Okay, let me use that time to talk about something, since Graham is on the call, to talk about something we just discussed in terms of the sign-up process. And you know what? I'm going to share my screen here.
Shocking.
All right. Okay, where is it? This one. All right. So sign-up process. So this is a part of CAS, right? Coordination as a Service. And this is what we've been talking about in the last couple of days, week or two, which is the experiences a new member has signing up for the collective. And this is an example here for Capra course. So I just put their logo up there. The idea is the sign-up process is specific to the organization that is signing up. Right, so you as a Kappa course participant can see, has a link at the end of the course, at the beginning of the course, to signing up with us and jumping over to our site and to use our service. So the very first step here is obviously you want to fill out a form to submit the member information and the payment for the organization. So here are a couple of things I wanted to bring up here. Graham, I want you to talk about this too. So one thing is these forms are specific to the organization, and we can customize them in certain ways. We don't want to go overboard, of course, to create a custom experience that is taking up too much time and effort. but we do want to break it up into, there's a new member coming from what organization. So the information we capture goes into a data set that's for that organization, right? So we can separate the data set from the other organizations that are eventually joining us, right? So, and I think, Graham, you confirmed that this is possible, first of all, so we can have separate data sets, right?
Yeah, so the way that you can do it, so you can have a particular form or a chunk of fields in a form. You can set that so that the data gets joined to a specific group within CiviCRM. Okay, so and then obviously you can just sort of identify those groups and tease them out as you wish from the database. So the question that I had on this, which I'm not 100% clear on, is when someone fills in that form, are they joining the Digital Life Collective? Or are they joining, they're paying a fee to the Digital Life Collective, but they're actually joining a group which is related to their own organization?
Yes.
Yeah?
They're not members of the collective as individuals.
Okay.
Unless they sign up to the Digital Life Collective.
Okay, so that's a wholly separate step, and a purely optional one that they might want to at a later point. Okay.
Yes,
so
we want collective members to sign on with clarity to the collective purpose.
Yeah. Okay.
And if they're just coming through the Capra course, they don't have to become a collective member.
Okay. All right. So that simply means that we, but they're still buying a sort of a year's membership essentially, or they're paying a
service membership, yeah, but not a co-op membership.
Facility. So I guess what we could do there, because the concept of the membership is really important for us in terms of knowing when the expiry date is, I guess, when the renewal date comes around. Yeah. So although they may not be a member of Digital Life Collective, but they are a member of the Capra course. So what we'd want to do is we would need to, first of all, create a membership type which is specific to that organization. Okay? So that they wouldn't be joining the Digital Life Collective, they'd be joining the Capra course, and they'd have a membership with the Capra course, essentially. So that's just a little additional step that we need to create for each organization.
Great, thanks, Graham. So the other very interesting thing that came out of this was the use of, how do you call them? Coupons or codes on that form. Yeah. We can actually say, we can offer this organization a coupon code, for all the members that are signing up for the first, say, 100 people to get free access, and that's kind of a prepaid thing if we want to have an agreement with the organization to say, hey, so here's a bundle of free licenses. You get, 100 people or so, and we give you the code for that. So fairly easy to implement that actually on this form, right? All you have to do is box in there for the coupon code that we give to, say, Capra course.
Yeah.
And
yeah, that's very straightforward.
I take it these are sort of, 10-digit long random strings. It's
well,
not
whatever we want. We can just create that. Yeah. So, so we can make them suitably confusing so that they're not easy to forge, I suppose, and distribute them to the organisation so that they can then distribute them to their members or whatever. So that could be 100% discount, or it might be something else. It might be $5 off, or it might be 20% off, or whatever.
So this could be useful for example, the radical exchange community, where they don't want their movement to be a membership-based movement, but they obviously want to join the membership together, ideally on everything that we're doing here. So rather than charging each of them $10 when they turn up, there is some
flat fee.
idea that they would pay a couple of thousand for so many sign-up codes, then to coupon codes, as you called them, Joachim. And maybe when they've exhausted that, we go back to them for some more. So would it be okay in that situation?
Yeah, that works, I guess. Yeah.
Cool.
Or if I mean, it depends. I mean, if you wanted to cut it a slightly different way, so I mean, I guess that what's useful for us with the concept of membership is the periodicity. Yeah. So, but if that's not pertinent, we could create a sign-up page where they're just they're not paying anything at all. They're just entering their details, and then in a group, and then we can just keep an eye on that. Or we could create some sort of notional membership so that there is that time frame around it. It's up to us how we want to play that.
Joachim, what is the tech ability that we have to say, oh, your team has maxed out its 500 members. You need to either limit your membership or up your subscription for somebody like Radical Exchange.
Right. So what I understand from Graham is these coupons are limited. They can only be applied X times. After that,
we can set that constraint. Yeah.
They expire, and then at that point we can go back to the organization and say, your 500 coupons expired. Do you want to buy a new?
Oh, so as people sign up, it records that as one use of the coupon. I get it. Sorry.
Each time the code gets used, yeah. So, so you could set a ceiling of 500 people or 1,000 people or whatever's relevant. And then when that maxes out, the coupon code just won't work anymore. So they can still sign up, but they wouldn't get the discount.
So to wrap this up here, because I want to go to other topics
Sure.
to updates. So I think that gives us maximum flexibility, really, to say for each organization, how do we want to deal with the member sign up, right? And even more to explore, in the future, what kind of discounts, what kind of agreements we can have with them. So that can all be built into the sign up process. And we can decide per organization what kind of fee they are actually charging, right? So it could be that we sign up for Capra course, the $10, and then you get a free coupon or something for getting into the Dig Live Collective. Or it could be, a free sign up for the Dig Live Collective, and others could then charge another kind of fee. So it's really a flexible space here suddenly that we open up that allows us whatever. Again, but it's really working with the organization. They make the final call here on what kind of sign-up process they prefer, right?
Yeah, and we could even do sort of affiliate type arrangements. So for example, if an organization didn't want to, we could say to them, okay, so you could offer your people a $20 ticket, for example, and for that, we'll collect the $20. They'll get to be a member of they'll get access to the tools. We'll give you $10 and we'll keep $10 or something like that. So we could be a sort of fiscal sponsor in that sort of sense if we want to do that sort of thing. It's more back end, but more work for us. But it could be useful in some context.
Great. Again, thanks so much, Greg, for looking into this and explaining to us how this works, CVCRM, and the integration with the mailing list. That's fantastic. Okay, I'll stop here.
I just want to reflect how far we've come and how amazing it is to see this group putting up CVCRM and looking at coordinating payments for other organizations, and it's incredible.
It feels like we're getting somewhere.
It does. Awesome. All right.
What's next?
Member relations. Would somebody take notes? I'll speak to that. So member relations, kind of in collaboration with public engagement, has the new role for Dig Life Ambassador, as well as just a number of people signing up. There's a happening.
The connection's breaking up.
So see if I kill my video, if that comes better.
Now loud and clear.
Any better?
Yes, I think so.
Member relations is going to need more help. I think that's the summary. Like, people are finding the collective more quickly. I think we have a pretty good onboarding process. We've changed the default channels. Thank you so much, Jim. So that everybody is added to welcome and orientation and a few others. There's about 4 or 5 channels. Some of those have very neutral names that could be used across domains. And they, like, if you do have a channel named welcome and orientation in your group, then that will, everybody will join the default. You know, if you did that in Capra course or whatever. So we'll list those as part of the CAS service as well. But in Dig Life, member relations is definitely going to need some more help.
Yeah, is that a time thing or a money thing or a bit of both?
I would love to find some money to pay somebody, you know, 10 hours a week or something. A welcome committee, I think actually figuring out a process by which new members kind of get a buddy, and some people willing to, I think we're going to need to define a role and some actually compensation system, or at least contribution tracking. Member relations has a regular call. I usually make it on, what is it, 5 p.m. UK on Tuesdays.
Yeah, I can see that.
Anybody who can't make that time and wants to coordinate, obviously, ping in member relations, or in stewards if you're not already in that that member relations team.
So who's doing the lion's share on that at the moment? You are, obviously, Christina. Anyone else?
Sophia helped a lot, but she's moving across the country at the moment.
Yeah.
I feel like Philip does the lion's share on the newsletter side. And obviously, you know, the portal itself has done a lot to ease the onboarding lack of clarity that we had on the old website. And I really think it's this getting some money for, you know, community stewardship, as well as actually building some bots to say, hey, you're new to the collective, welcome, or hey, you just joined this domain, here's an orientation thing. Like, getting some of those things in order and making the socio-technical stack for that buddy bot system. You need an actual buddy and a bot.
Is there a bot available for Maximus?
I think somebody put some bots that were available. I don't remember where that link was, but I've seen a link. I bet there are.
Yeah, there are several good options there. One of them was called PressBot, I think, maybe on WordPress. But PressBot is an open source tool that has a graphical interface where actually anybody without any programming skills can go in there and sort of arrange a flow on the screen, you know, responses, reactions to certain words, key trigger words, right, that come up in the chat stream. So that kind of model, I think, works well for the collective, because not only open source, but also visible to anybody in the collective, seeing what the rules are that we're implementing there, right? And if you want to, you can join in and create your own rules, right? Or extend the current rule sets we have, and then copy the whole thing into another domain if you want to. So you can apply that same rule sets for your domain, for your organization, right? So that kind of model fits well into that. But it does mean we need to have a team around creating that thing, right? So setting it up on the server, whatever tool we're using, and then understanding how it works, and then defining a protocol around that, and then sharing that with others, right?
Yeah. Okay. So that might be worth looking at, I think. I mean, I find that the bot in Slack is quite good. So it sort of like makes you feel like you're not alone when you arrive there, you know?
Yeah, and once it's set up, I think it's easily customizable by muggles. So.
Well, maybe we need to identify that as a little project and try and push that forward.
I have some initial brainstorming on a bot document. Graham, if you want to work with me on that, I can help show what Jim and Gary and I have done so far. Robert Best, when he gets back in a couple weeks, may be willing to help on that as well.
Okay, sounds interesting. A simpler thing that might work for me at least, is like I don't see people arriving because it's not there on my screen all the time. Okay, so can we get it so that when someone signs into the system, into the portal, whatever we call it,
mm-hmm.
the email notification gets triggered? Can we do that easily?
I would say when a new member joins, maybe an @channel in member relations or or stewards, depending on how willing people are to go be buddies. I think that's a combination of getting a bot together, because that would be a bot action, I think, because you do have a system notification that's automated already when people join the domain for the first time.
Yeah, let's see that notification. That all that does is that puts a message into Mattermost, doesn't it?
It puts it in announcements, yeah.
Yeah. So the only way you can see that is if you sit there and you've got that up on your screen.
Yes, but if it did @channel in a channel you're in, you should get an email notification if you have that set up, I think.
Okay, so we can use that.
I think so.
Yeah. How do those email notifications work? Can you turn them on and off for specific? Is there some
account
control
settings in Mattermost? Yeah.
And that's a per channel thing, or is that global?
I think it does everything.
All right, I'll have a look at that. That might do it. I mean,
it's not per channel. It might be per domain, but
okay.
I don't remember. Joachim, do you know? You're muted.
You can set notification preferences per channel.
Yes.
Per channel. Right. So if we've got. Okay. So if we can make sure, everything appears in the announcements channel, yeah?
Everything appears in the announcements channel, and the announcements channel is supposed to be low bandwidth.
Yeah. So people don't post there particularly, but the announcement when someone joins the portal, but
I don't know that a system notification triggers an email.
Let's have a look. Well, it should do, shouldn't it? That would be pretty damn useful. I mean, I can get when a new membership sign up happens, I can get that to trigger an email out of CVCRM, but that's not the same thing. It's not, you can't really. We don't want to have loads of email flying around to people. We want to sort of be there when they arrive in the portal, don't we? Which is a separate step.
Yeah, I think if we got the bot going, that we could make the @channel happen in the member relations team, and anybody who wanted, maybe even have a separate channel for people who just want to be buddies once we define that role.
We probably want to make sure we have that use case in the bot protocol that we're developing.
Yeah, we will. I put that in.
I mean, what would be a way that this could be done is if we had stewards and ambassadors basically sign up, uh, willing to buddy with new members, and they could be assigned round robin by one person in the spreadsheet for now to buddy a new member, and ultimately that could be automated with the bot.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like this is something we can take to the member relations call on Tuesday or asynchronously in that channel. I'll put some of the links to the work already done on that there after I've updated that doc.
Sounds good. Okay, let's see. What else is on the list? Public engagement.
Right. Where do you want to begin? With the stuff that's almost done or the stuff that's hardly moved an inch? Okay. I'm going to do a whack-em here. First and foremost, the week notes. I will share my screen and hopefully you will see where we are. Right, so that hopefully you are seeing a Digital Life Collective week note in an email, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so that now exists in two forms, or three forms in fact. The week note template is in Kodi. So that really isn't, I don't know whether we create a new document for each week or however regularly, but that's broadly speaking the template's in place.
Roy, is that you're just going to copy paste that and then it will be in Civi CRM. So when you copy paste the copy each week, it will be in Civi CRM.
Yeah, okay, I'll talk you through that in a second because it's not quite so straightforward.
Well, I'm just thinking like we don't need to create a whole bunch of week notes as a record if we have a record going out to email anyway. We can just copy the use that as a template every week.
Absolutely, yeah. So the situation with Civi is Civi has two basic ways of handling it. Either we can use a template format, which illustration on your screen as we speak now, which is quite cool. It's quite useful, but what it does mean is it's locked inside, essentially locked inside Civi. And then there is the template form, which is an HTML template, which is now made. It's got a few. That's what you saw in the inbox. Sorry, Graham.
Where's that HTML template?
The HTML template is in Civi. I've still got to do the header template, but that's just one line. The footer template is there, and just look in the if you're in there, just look in the regular. I can't remember what it's called. What's it? It's mailing traditional, I think it is. Yeah, just have a look in there. It's just basic HTML, and the idea being hopefully that at some point we can just make that a darn sight easier for anybody to upload. But for the moment, yeah, just cut and paste. The structure is there. As I say, there's a few little tweaks and fiddles, but nothing much. So that's pretty much, I think, under control. Now it's just a question of getting content in. I've put in some sample content based on what is currently on the site. I say currently, that was, I think, as of Wednesday. So it's pretty current stuff, which could technically go out in the next few days, but have a look at that. What I will do is I'll go back to the week note, the Kodi week note, and I'll amend that to match so that template matches the actual week note template.
I added a item on the calendar. It's a reminder on Fridays to send it out. I was thinking that kind of thing is like an exploratory weekend thing, and it might be good to have on the on a Friday.
Yeah. I haven't quite yet got around to synchronizing that with the Twitter feed, but I will get onto that and we'll kind of come together and start functioning together.
I'm happy to work with you on that if you need help.
Yeah. So Graham, I mean, you and I will just have to, Graham, we'll just have to work on as and when things go out. I think, I mean, we've been on it this week, and I think we've got over the send issues, and it all seems to be working pretty good now. So it's just a question of which database and et cetera, et cetera. So maybe through next week, we can sort of tidy it all up and get something out the door.
Yeah. So just in terms of the database, as you mentioned it, I think what I'd like to do is get the data out of MailTrain, the addresses, names and addresses there, because I don't know how much of a match there is between that data and the data we pulled out of Stripe, and what the gaps might be. I've not looked at that.
So there are two lists, Graham. One is the sign up list from Stripe. So that's actually a list we can ignore because you got it directly from Stripe now, right?
Okay.
That list is incorrect probably anyway because it accumulated all of the sign-ups and also the people who tested it and people who didn't want to continue the membership. But there's another list which is the subscribers from the website. So we have this sign up for the newsletter, right? For news about the collective. That list, I think, should also go into CVCRM. And then we need to reroute this from the new website to that new list in CVCRM. So it's two lists, essentially.
Okay. So we can get that data out of MailTrain easily, can we? Just dump it as a CSV or something?
Oh, sure, absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay. Yep. So that's progressing. What hasn't progressed, at least certainly from a content standpoint, is the website and website copy. I don't know, Hakim, I don't know if you've done any more on the site templates.
Yes.
Oh, okay, right. So perhaps we should touch base on that. I'll just again do a quick screen share. Again, the web body copy, what we've done is just pulled it all together from all the various iterations in the existing website, and it's a question of pulling those all together into a compound headings. I'll just share the screen very quickly again. So essentially we've got a welcome, the definition of tech we trust, which I don't think is going to change very much, but then we've got various iterations for trust. We've got long form and short form, and maybe that's something that Philip and whoever can have. The same goes for privacy. We've got long form and short form. We haven't as yet decided how to deal with the distinction between long and short form, or whether we compile them into single sort of chunky content. But anybody has an interest in this, I would just ask to have a look and familiarize yourself, because I hope to have some time next week to come back to this and start making some requests and comments and possibly starting to hack away a little bit at the copywriting. And hopefully I can do that in concert with what Joachim's doing on the website, so we can start moving that one forward as well.
Yeah. Let me do I can do a quick screen share here of this new tool that David Ng has introduced last time. I thought that's pretty interesting as it ties into the web content publishing process. It's called Graph, right? I looked at the templates they have, and there's one that's called Gantry. Is at version 5 already. Has a very active developer community around that. So this is a template that plugs right into this Graph publishing system, and it allows you to actually create layouts in a very similar way that you just showed with the newsletter design, right? So you basically drag and drop these different elements into a page, right? It has all the basic elements we need, like the images, carousel. There's a whole bunch of things here on the left And that all is part of this open source solution that they offer within the graph environment. I think that's fantastic. And not only that, because you can also go ahead and start to configure this system with can't find it. It's multilingual, so you can start. Oh, here it is. Supporting different languages, so you can actually separate the content by different language pages, streams you want to set up, and it's multi-site. I looked at the documentation. It's fairly easy to set it up so it can serve multiple sites within the same admin interface, which opens up this whole thing into another service we can offer to organizations who need a better way to publish their content on their site, right? And since this is all domain based, so it can be their domain. Of course, it's not on diglive.coop, but it's on their site, but still using the same backend, right? So it would still run on our server, on Cloud Run, and it's a shared service. Whoever needs access to that, or if we have certain roles who support that and help these other organizations to set up their website. So just wanted to point out, this is a very promising tool. I've installed a theme here now, right? It's called Helium, that I think looks pretty good. And we can start with that and then get the content out there and continue the publishing process.
Okay, right. Oh, yeah, great. That looks very promising. I'll have a look at that.
So this would replace the ghost site at diglife.com. Is that the game plan? Mm. Yeah.
Now that's what we're trying to get rid of. We're trying to bring up to scratch with the portal. It's definitely cobbler's shoes at the moment. So, yeah.
In our work study yesterday, we looked into the multi-site a bit, and we ran into a number of issues which aren't resolved in terms of supporting multiple domains. One was that we couldn't have the multiple domains certificates managed by Cloud Run. And the other was having Nginx configurations for each of the sites, which we didn't figure out an easy way to do that. So I would be hesitant to say that that we'll be able to take advantage of the multi-site capability under Cloud Run. We may actually have to have a separate app for each organization that was going to use it.
A separate Cloud Run, you mean?
Not a separate Cloud Run, just another instance of the app.
Or a different instance per organization.
Yeah.
Well, that sounds a bit of a faff, doesn't it? If we can avoid that, that'd be good. So what's the advantage of this tool? I've not looked at it at all. Why is it so lovely?
Okay, so in between, it's in between content publishing CMS, really, like Joomla or Drupal, which is way too much for us to handle. And on the other side, we looked at raw HTML5 editing, right? So just get a template from somewhere, which we did, and then begin to edit the HTML code, right? Which would require to actually put some elements into the code, like the carousel, for example, or like the table structure. So it requires some web designer to go in there and make all these elements and maintain these elements, right? Here with this system, you're right in between where you can actually drag and drop these elements into your page, and you define that very much like you put together the newsletter, right? And there are fewer changes to the template, and it's more customizable, I would say, and it moves this project forward faster. That's my assumption here, because of these built-in facility and because of things like multilingual. If we add that to an HTML5 site, that'll be big question mark. How do you?
So can we control the thing so that there's consistency? If you got different content creators working on the site, is it going to end up looking like a sweet shop because everyone's got different whizzy widgets on their page, or can we apply a consistent framework?
That's the idea of the tool, the template I showed you. It brings consistency and use the same widgets for each section of the website. Right? I mean, the primary focus is our website right now, right? To get a message about tech we trust and operation as a service across. Secondary, to Jim's point, right, is other organizations, which is a whole other deal. We haven't even started to think about that. Who's owning the domains, how we manage that, and what tool are we using to help them out doing that. But the potential is there, and that's important. It's a service that has the capacity to do it. But again, focus right now is on doing that for us. And I think that moves us faster because less HTML programming in there. It's just putting together, drag and dropping the right elements into the page so that we feel like are necessary to get the message across.
That definitely floats my boat, I have to say. We have spent a fair amount of time looking at alternatives, and the other thing is to try and provide something which goes back to the original thinking behind bringing on Ghost, was that other people could contribute very quickly and easily with blogs and things. And the problem, of course, going with an HTML based setup is it would have to be put together by a dev. And the WordPress instance has the same challenges. I mean, yes, it's a little more accessible, but you still have to be comfortable in being in that space. Ghost was very good as a very easy access blogging tool, but it had almost no way of developing anything else around it. So but that looks really interesting. There we go. So, well, hope it'll keep raining this weekend, and I'll have a look.
One of the features we built into Ghost was the glossary, of course, which I think...
Didn't somebody move that over?
Yeah, it has been moved over. Yep.
Yeah.
I can't find
You're
it.
on it, Philip.
We have got it.
But not the /glossary page, but the feature that allows the definitions to be accessed with the mouse over.
Yeah, that's quite a nice little move. That's just is that just an HTML tag that does that, or is it JavaScript or something?
I think it's a tooltip. Yes.
Yeah.
I was just about to. I didn't know if it was still plugin based, and therefore whether there wasn't a similar one for Grav. I just did exactly the same at akasha.org /glossary, thinking they just used the glossarizer tool, but they ended up just coding it from scratch. So if we wanted some code from scratch, I could go and get some if we wanted. Other than that, Roy, I've just put a little to-do list at the top of the web content document. So it's a quick way for you to tell me what you would like me to do if you want me to do anything, which I'm more than happy to do, so we can get this as soon as possible. I think the current website doesn't do us justice, so the quicker way we can get this new one live, the better, I think.
Yeah, I agree with that. So
It's getting quite important now.
Can you,
Yes.
Joachim, can you remind us of the reasons that we don't want to hurry too much?
I don't want to hurry too much to go into. I mean, we're racing here, right? You saw that today. we can only go slower from here.
yeah, I kind of agree with that.
But back to the focus of when we're getting the first partner on board, it's looking at what the partner needs and if that organization is comfortable working with us and creating their own safe space, right? So supporting that is the first priority, of course. The technology behind that really should be almost like shielded from that partner, right? Not worrying about what all of this stuff is that's helping them to create their own environment, right? Experience environment, I'm calling this now. yeah, I mean, there's no need that we really need to rush this so fast. I mean, we have a basic set of services, and from there we're building out other services. You know, we talked about bots today. We talked about the web content publishing piece. There's the agile stuff that Eric is working on. You know, using another tool that's on Cloudron. These are all sets of services that are slowly evolving over time that we can offer to the members.
Okay. How do we get to play with this grad thing? We've got an instance up and running that we can tinker with, have we, at the moment?
Yeah.
Yeah. How do we find that?
I'll send you the credentials.
Very kind. Thank you.
I put it in the Stewards channel later, so anybody can go in.
I'm an old school Drupal 7 guy myself, you know, so it'll take me a bit of relearning to get my head around this thing.
And Jerry is an old school WordPress guy. He worked how many years, Jerry?
That's above and beyond the call of duty, I'm afraid.
Way too long.
Way too long. It was evolving the whole time, wasn't it? So yeah.
Okay.
All right, back to the agenda. Public engagement. What's next? Emergent strategy. What do we have?
Our emergent strategy group needs to get together, get its stuff together the same way directors do. But we did have a really interesting proposal from John Philpin, the emerging mapping team that I'm part of is going to try out some version of his suggestion for sort of standard ways to break up incoming client work. So we're trying that out and we will report back to emergent strategy.
Oh, I think I saw something of that. Yeah, it looked quite interesting.
Yeah, so I'll make sure that learning from there gets into the emergent strategy channel, and that channel really hasn't been acting like a team. So if you want to act like a team, we should do that. Maybe we can, most of the people there are in directors, so we can also do that sort of simultaneously with setting up the directors coordination as well.
Thank you, Christina. Next point, CAS crew. So CAS crew is the new operations-focused work team that looks at the different services and some of the documentation we're putting together for new members. It is not customer-facing, so I think any questions come directly from partners will be in the partners support channel. However, I mean, they will of course interact with new members in the channels that we have that are overlapping. I do want to spend a few minutes here on this new presentation and deck I'm putting together for CAS. If that's okay with everyone.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Okay. Let me switch. Go to presentation. You see the dolphins?
We like the dolphins.
I was wondering if we shouldn't say a few words about FedWiki.
Okay. You want to do this now, or should we do this after this?
Sure, we can do it after.
Okay. Thanks, Jim. Okay, dolphins. So last time I talked about the first part of this presentation, which goes into why you would do something like cooperation as a service, right? So I'm not going to get into these details again. So this is kind of the problem statement here, what it is, and then a definition of what is cooperation, comparing that to the other ways of working together, right? So the focus is on building this new experience space, as I call it, right? So that creates new boundaries, new adjacent possibilities, and an infinite game space, right? So just to clarify that wording that we use in cooperation as a service, right? So opening up the safe space for co-creation and co-opetition. The other thing is obviously the work we've put into creating something like this by nurturing the technology we trust, right? So positioning us into a space where we know about these technologies, we're researching these technologies, we're helping other developers, creating new technologies in that space. That's an important part of the picture, right? Of the full picture of nurturing on one side, looking at the challenges on the left side, and then other groups, other organizations who begin to cooperate using that trustworthy technology, right? And it's all happening in one big space, so we can benefit from adjacent possibilities and working together and all the cross-fertilization that's going to happen in here. Okay, so that's the Dig Live side. Again, there's more details on what does it mean to nurture, what does it mean to cooperate in this space. I'm not going to get into this. So here's one. I talked to Lauren, and she said for her, it's great, but it's not clear as an organization what tool sets, what services can I use, and what's part of our organization versus what's part of Dig Live, right? So there's still a fuzzy line here. So I'm trying to clear this up a bit by creating these two new slides here. So one is just to tell again the story that we're creating this new kind of experience space that you can join. And each space comes with a pre-selected way of offering these services, right? That we refine over time. I just want to be clear, this is not ready off the shelf. It's not a real product. It's a way of working together. And you can continuously benefit from that because we're continuously looking at nurturing tech we trust, right? So that's
Joachim, just a quick one. Some of the, when you say your organization can join, sometimes it might not be considered an organization, but more a community or a loose collective. So could we put organization / community? Or I don't know what the all-inclusive term would be for groups of people getting together to do interesting stuff.
How about a group?
Group.
How about project?
Keep it simple. Group.
A group, I like group. Project is good too, but group is more of a defined entity. We're looking for defined entities, right? Ideally, organizations already have a good boundary where people are in and out of that organization. So group is a good one too. I thought organization would be generic enough to include.
It is that we know how you mean it, but the world doesn't.
Okay.
What we need is a little glossary tooltip there, don't we?
So that's part one. So you join, you get a selected set of services, right? That's one part. The other part is this idea of you actually joining something that where other diverse organizations also play in the same playground here, right? Organizations with, I'm highlighting here, similar vision and mission, right? So they're all after something that relates to the work we've been doing in the past, right? And then I'm comparing that to this notion of a coral reef. Big part of our branding goes around these colorful ecosystems and the biodiversity you have in these systems. I think that resonates. That kind of metaphor resonates a lot with the members. So a space where we can all benefit from the contextual, mutual learning and richness of interactions. And that comes straight out of Nora Bateson's definition of semantasy. Her term for describing what is happening in these ecosystems. And if you have a rich space, a complex space with a lot of interactions. So I want to use that as the sort of the second big reason why you would join something like this. Not as an isolated, siloed organization doing your own thing, right? Making your organization more effective and richer, right? But no, this is about all of us becoming richer in this space by interacting, right? By working together on these things. So these 2 points, I wanted to bring those across in this CAS presentation. And then from there get into, okay, what does it actually look like? The house. What is behind all of this? So this is the introductory slide into the platform and the story kind of that evolves by using this platform. And I've split this up into two pieces now. So one is the high-level introduction, and then the second one is the one you've seen before, right, with the individual squares now filled in. What is behind each of these? So here I'm trying to use some wording that kind of resonates and exemplifies each of these 6 service areas, right? So in conversation elements, we're trying to hold up generative and engaging conversations, obviously. What are the tool sets to do that? In organizational elements is this emerging idea of an emerging organic and adaptive structure, right? That comes out of the activities that are happening across the organization. Not the other way around, right? Where you build these static structures and put everyone into boxes. And then the psychological elements here is the idea of safe spaces, right? Trusted spaces and trusted relationships and rules in that safe space. What you cannot do, what would be good for others, and how your behaviors reflect on the others. That's kind of encapsulated in that heading. Then on the bottom line, you see the more down, so I call it anchoring down tasks around accounting for the activities and contributions. Who has done what, how can I actually say that you get reward for the work you did inside your organization. And then supporting this notion of growing roots and shoots in a local and global context. That goes into these rhizomatic elements, to me also very important. And these roots and shoots, that can stand for data elements that tie into taxonomies, that can tie into activities that happen at a local level, reach out in the different cities, places where you live, to connect and form groups. So any kind of support in that context. And also what Eric is doing in the agile teams, how to build effective, task-oriented processes to get things done, actually, the activation of the work. And then lastly, the promoting the socio-cultural impact. So not calling it marketing, but calling it something that has an impact on the socio-cultural environment you're in, right? And where you're operating in, and what people you want to touch and reach out to in that space, right?
Joachim, I just want to note in the chat the suggestion that this slide have a tree on it for the up and the down, if you had an image with the roots and the leaves.
Oh, that's good too. Yeah.
You could replace the background, just fade it, basically make it opaque and leave it in the background. But leaves up, roots down. You're using all the language, just you don't have the image.
That's it. Tree. I need a white tree in the background or something.
Mm-hmm.
As opposed to the scrubbing bubbles that are there now.
There is an ecological brand context emerging here, and we're moving. We have the sea. We're going into mangroves. We're going into. There's a very clear theme emerging here. It's an extremely rich one, which we can mine infinitely. But I was just going to say, I really do like the notion of sociocultural impact as opposed to marketing. I think it's just so much better way of saying what this is about.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, big thumbs up there. Sorry.
Thanks, Roy. That's good.
Let's change that background. One more thing about the background, that's the holonic sort of the thing that emerges out of this. I had an idea to actually float that in a 3D way above this grid, right? Because that's coming out of this. If we activate all these squares that you see here, what you get is a way to enable your thing that's floating there with your, teams and groups and structure that comes out of this, right? That's the thinking. But let's put the tree in there. I like that too, because that's what it is, growing on one side, reaching out, and anchoring down on the other side. That's an important piece. Okay, how are we doing on time? I think we're still good. What's the time? 1 o'clock?
5 past the hour.
What should we do? Continue or continue next time? Continue?
I'm happy to continue for another 10 minutes or so, personally. Yeah.
Great.
Likewise.
Can you put the link to the deck in the notes?
Yep. All right, so next one is looking at the individual squares. So now we mapped it out, right? So that's the big picture. What does it mean actually if we dive into each of these squares individually? And I don't want to point to all of them, but just a few of them. And I want to make sure that these are services we either already offer or we're about to offer, right? Or working on that kind of service. So we're not pointing a pie in the sky picture here. So what you see here, oh yeah, one more slide. This is about if you have other squares that you want to explain there, just add it to this list here, and then we can sort of continuously evolve that presentation and that deck with other examples that we have. So number one, so square number one here on the right side, you see it's a green one. So that's part of the conversational elements. So this is a screenshot of Mattermost, obviously, to show what's going on that level. And in terms of programmable chats, that could be another slide or another way to show that inside a screenshot. Then
programmable, Joaquin.
Say again?
What do you mean by programmable?
Okay, that means two things: bots inside channels. Sort of looking at the conversations and webhooks inside channels. So these chats are not just humans in conversations, right? But it means that you can actually reach in there and allow some AI stuff happening. Looking at the conversation, responding. With all the good bot stuff that we can put in there.
Okay. So and maybe augmented or something like that. Maybe,
augmented chats. I like that.
Augmented chat. Yeah, programmable chats says gives the wrong message for me, I guess. Just
leaves out the socios.
All right, augmented it is.
Sorry.
Right. That's good. No, thanks. Anybody jump in, right? If you have any ideas, thoughts. So another one is putting all cards on the table. So the card-based interface that we've been working on. And how that impacts the way you work together. So again, this is just an idea of, oh, you guys have cards. I can see they are organized by certain ways and criteria and so forth. That might help my conversation and my organization. Right. A third one, also in the conversation element, is these canvas elements. So this is the piece where you can share these Google drawings with a group, and then you can put these markers on the board, right? Move them around and just check in, doing a conversation, doing a real-time conversation where you are. That's another way to support the conversational elements. And then we move into the next one, which is the organizational elements. So this is where my notion says here is leaving the old org chart behind. So this is this emerging thing that grows and shrinks at the same time, right? Depending on the different activities and the structures these groups are creating inside their spaces. Then the other one is the network chart, where I want to highlight a few things, that this is about skill sets and the connections and the relationships, and highlighting that you can see new members here. You can see, we can also, another interesting notion is to see people that have been recognized by other members. So immediately, let's say newcomers with a dotted line here, or we could also ask people to say, yes, I know this person, I can vouch for that person, to bring that information also into this kind of map. And you would see immediately people who are sort of on the outside, who are not really participating yet, or who joined in some other capacity. So that is all part of this skill set map. Then I have a new slide here for the decision-making processes. So pushing the decisions to the edge, I think, is one of the core mantras that we want to offer. What that means, offer that to other organizations. Now this picture, this is the heart coral reef think in Australia somewhere. That goes into, you know, the idea of keep it in the team, you know, keep it in the work team circle as much as possible. If it affects others, then come out of the team and have a link role or something like that to reach out to others in the organization. So for this, I think we have pretty good protocols in place that we can offer to them. Then,
can I just say, sorry to interrupt guys, but from the permaculture point of view, the edge is the richest source of ecosystem development, because it's a point at which two totally different systems are actually interrelated. So it is the richest part to be in. And there's another school which asks that the edge be defined. So it's a very clear definition between two states. So it's a very powerful tool. Thank you for raising it as such, Joachim.
Thanks, Les. Again, that shows to prove this whole, you know, coral reef ecosystem metaphor that might really work for us here, right? What Roy mentioned earlier. Love it. Okay, so another one on decision making is this here, which is participatory inquiry. So now I use that term now to explain self-governance, which is open participatory governance, some of the governance thinking we've been doing. Then about open participatory organization, that is around self-organization. And then the sense-making piece about open participatory learning, as I label this now. So at the intersection of these three, you know, three inquiries, that's, I think, where you want to find organizations, and they'd be most productive, most generative, and moving them into that space, I think, is part of the mission that we and the service we want to offer. Then talking a little bit about technology, you know, simple technology protocols under the protocols and principles heading here. So you don't worry about where's the technology, you know, stored, where is it served up, what data center, who is maintaining it, and so forth. So that as part of the service offering, obviously, so you can focus on your work and not getting distracted and bogged down by the other stuff. Then going a little bit into, that's a future thinking slide here, into community currencies. So the notion of keeping currencies circulating and alive, you know, a lot of the work from Michael, that eventually should also find a way into this model. So how do we allocate, how we can circulate the funds inside communities and exchange that with other, again, if you can see this other green thing here as a partner community, we can offer ways to exchange the value here. It doesn't have to be a hard currency, that can be some form of a community currency. And I like the overlap with badges too here. So offering some kind of badges for people in roles or for work they've done in the past, and that kind of badge can then be converted into, you know, Michael calls this reverse osmosis or osmosis. So getting the hard currency into the system and then also allowing for that hard currency to come back. So convert that community currency back to hard currency to get some kind of a payout there. So that's raw thinking here. This is not available yet, obviously, but it's on the horizon, I think. Then I think we've been talking a lot about relational data, making data more transparent and opening up that kind of thing. Again, circling back, completing the loop to, you know, this is not data we're selling to third parties, that stays here and it stays within the collective. A lot of Nora Bateson's thinking around warm data come into this, of course. So I think what we want to say here, you join the collective. It's not that you own your piece of the data and you can go and leave and rip it out of the collective. No, it's the moment you join them, you're part of this bigger piece that we're putting together, right? And this glass house metaphor in this case, that we're building and making it as transparent as possible for the benefit of the members, right? For the benefit of the organizations. not for your individual benefit, so you can actually, gain some profit from that, but rather with the notion of building this bigger thing together.
There's a comment in the chat from Roy.
Sure.
About, Roy, do you just want to speak to that from a marketing point of view?
Yeah, it's not particularly rocket science. I mean, there is within the sort of the ecological ecosystem image base, there's such a rich potential to develop that. I mean, this the glass house is a particularly beautiful image. But it helps people get a sense. It just builds that sense of this is an ecosystem. This is a community. And I think the other thing is, it is very much of the zeitgeist. And, Les talking about the edge, the biodiversity and edges and so on and so forth. I think it's of the zeitgeist. It's very much an emergent image base, and it would be great to be able to keep the consistency. It just helps people remember where. So when you jump from you jump from an image of a coral reef into a keyboard, there's a kind of a dissonance. You get that, I've moved space, and yeah, that's it. Basically, it's making it easy for people to stay in the space, and feel that space kind of grow with them as each new image appears. They get a much better idea of the sort of holistic function of it behind. Yeah, I'm waffling. I'll go away again. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Roy. Yeah.
Can I just say there are wonderful images of greenhouses made of plastic bottles of different colour, which can draw on this beautiful image, Joachim, but still be thematic with the growing imagery.
Writing this down as you speak. Yes.
Philip, as you went through your amazing writing process for the articles on data, do you have any other things that you would really like to showcase when we're talking about new ways to relate to data? Can we actually put interpersonal data?
I think that interpersonal data is highly compatible with ecological thinking because it surrounds us, interpenetrating and nesting, privacy preserving yet socially meaningful. But as for imagery that goes alongside the intangible, it's the plague of my life. Thank God for Unsplash and the search term abstract. I mean, it's or pattern. Pattern's a good one. So it's painful.
I actually love this image for data because if you pull out a window in the glass house, it falls down, or at least is less than it was before. And I agree with what Roy said about the keyboard image, but I also really push back on the fact on this idea that humans are not natural, that human ecology is any less natural than a coral reef. We have problems. We're virulent, probably, but we are natural systems, and the technical infrastructures and buildings and stuff that we build are ecologies. They are human ecologies. Plus, I don't want to look like an episode of Our Planet. As beautiful as all of that is, people begin to zone out if you always just show them beautiful stuff. Sometimes it's good to be jarred a little bit.
All right, all good feedback. Let's go. I don't want to take metaphors too far. I've been in a situation where you get really stuck in, oh my God, get into the very meaning of that thing, and then it suddenly becomes not meaningful anymore. It's weird. Anyway, so let's wrap this up. I think there are one or two more slides here. This is one again about the rhizomic elements. Talking a bit about the agile process. I like that context because it's for a lot of teams it's a risky business. It's scary, right? To go through these different stories and come up with these faster and faster loops. So that's putting this agile idea a little bit front and center here. Not sure if that's something we want to talk about, but I think that's a future service that we want to offer to organizations. I think that's the last one here. I don't have, I put it under posts and publications. I don't know yet. If somebody has an idea for what's a good wording around the reaching into the cultural side, you know, the social cultural aspects and the impact we have. If there's a good wording for that, you know, let me know. Just put it into the presentation. Okay, I think, yeah, that's it. Let me close this, come back. Thank you for listening. Again, this is a sort of an introductory tour, high-level tour for what CAS is about, right? An attractor, right? And from there you go down into what's the next step, and the next step is then this the delegation protocol we're working on, right? So then you want to get to know us, you want to get to know the space, you want to get to know these services. Fine, you can do that. Send a delegation over, you know, a couple of people, talk to us. Make a decision from there, and then you can grow and onboard your entire organization if you want to.
I mean, I love it. It's a lovely stack. It does make me think that if someone's looking for the answer of 2 + 2 and we rock up with calculus, that they might be bamboozled. But then perhaps if they're just still at the stage of trying to work out what 2 + 2 is, then we're not. CAS is not for cooperation as a service is not for them anyway. I can imagine that this stack and this storyline, this arc of what we've done so far and where we're going would have delighted Phoebe massively when you spoke to her on Easter Friday, and her work at the Inspiral community. I'm sure she's gone straight back to Inspiral and relayed the stuff that she's heard, and we're reconvening with her, I think, next week. I think Christina said. So yeah, I just love it. It's coherent. It's timely. It doesn't have the word crypto anywhere in it. and yeah, nice. Thank you.
I think there's an opportunity to make a little bit of 5 or 6 slides that are like the problem, a tiny taste of the possible solutions, and then a call to action that would be that very first introductory thing, and then you can dive into this whole once you're ready to actually snorkel in the coral reef and have some time and to really explore. Then that's a different level of cognitive engagement that we've got. We can do both. I would say the 5 or 6 slides shouldn't be made until this one settles and has its storyline really happy, and like we're almost there, I think.
I'm wanting, a really practical, short presentation of like where we are today. This is the portal. These are the, basically going through the features, and maybe just alluding to the greater vision. If I want to get our chain on board, this will be a great tool. But everybody will come out at the end and say, well, what exactly is it? They don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it is, what we've got is really quite a sophisticated, complex thing, isn't it? Mm-hmm. It's not, you can't just sort of grasp it quickly like Slack or whatever. Right?
Yep.
you can get your head around Slack in 5 minutes, and use it and get results. I don't think that's necessarily the case with what we've got here. Because I was looking at those slides and looking at some of the language that you've used there, and my immediate response is, well, no, we need to try and simplify the language. But actually, I think perhaps we don't at this stage. Perhaps making it complicated is actually a benefit in a strange sense, because we don't want to be offering something under false pretenses, in a sense. And I guess, and for me, I guess the bit that might be missing there is the idea that people that come and play in the space that we're building are also co-creating the space and helping to move it along. I don't think that might be a missing element in what we're pitching there with that deck, because I think that's an important thing. I think it's very important that we're honest and say, this is a work in progress. It's not the polished article sort of thing.
Yeah, there's, just not to take the coral reef metaphor too far, but you've kind of got 3 levels. There's the glass bottom boat, which is that really simple 3-4 deck. Then you've got the snorkel where somebody has to get a little bit wet, and then you've got the tanks where Joachim's got to strap them onto you. Are going for a long, deep swim.
You gotta get decompression time too.
It'll be great when you do, But I think if we could sort of perhaps keep those sort of three components or 3 whatevers in mind.
Open water diver, advanced open water, deep water diver, reef diver, current diver. There's all sorts of certifications.
Badges. We need badges.
You can have a before and after picture of a man drowning and all geared up and entering
Yeah. Very good.
Sharks in the water.
Right, I've got to go, I'm afraid.
Well, thank you all for showing up and spending so much time. The Stewards Call is supposed to be half an hour, and this has been great. I think we really got a lot done today.
Actually, we have 2 more minutes left in happy hour.
We're happy.
Have a great weekend, all. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye.
Philip. Oh, well, I missed him.